Again, one of the key topics that we need to have in our mind when we start understanding the concepts in this unit is that the future is unknown and really unknowable. And so what we need to do as strategic managers is to think about what possible futures might be out there. Thinking about the 5 Cs, the critical environments that we as strategists need to analyse and understand: the company, competitors, collaborators, context, and customers. Thinking about those environments, we need to think about what might the future look like. And back in the 1970s, Shell developed a process called scenario planning, in which they encouraged managers to think about a minimum of 3 and sometimes up to 4 possible scenarios of what the future might look like. Obviously, you start with the likely scenario, using your best judgment. What might the likely customer behaviour look like? What might the likely competitor response look like? What might the likely context with the pestle analysis look like, etc. But then also to develop an optimistic view. If things went really well, what might that look like? A pessimistic view. If things were really tough, what might that look like? And so you end up with the standard 3 scenarios of optimistic, pessimistic and likely. But then also, in order not to be caught out by disruptive innovation, a topic that we'll talk about in a later unit, is also to say, well, what might be a divergent view if instead of the future being just a continuation of trends that already exist and have come from the past, what if there was a game changer, a step change in the way the industry worked? What might be a divergent scenario, often triggered by technology? And so good scenario planning requires that we sit down as strategic managers and think through, what's the optimistic view and how probable is that? What's the pessimistic view and how probable is that? And what's the likely view? Now, we then take that data and plan for the likely view. But if the risks associated with either missed opportunity in the optimistic view or critical risks in the pessimistic view are such that the organisation feels constrained by those, then you would develop contingency plans for how you would seize the opportunities in the optimistic view or avoid the threats in the pessimistic view. And so good scenario planning is a critical skill that highly strategic organisations adopt and good strategic managers use all the time. And so it's something you should really try and get your head around.